Good morning. Wow, that's loud. Less loud? Good morning. No. Good morning. Obviously, no one had coffee yet. There's plenty of it over there. I'm Shelly Palmer. Welcome, everyone, to our very second AI for Brand Marketers Summit. Today is a really interesting day because every morning something interesting happens in AI, and I want to, that's me. I want to start by, first of all, welcoming all of you, thanking Mark and all of our friends from Brand Innovators who helped put this day together. The way the day is going to go, and you all have an agenda, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview on where AI is right now, and then we're going to have a series of conversations with some industry luminaries, friends, people who are in the marketing space, people who are in industry, and also in and around the tech. Before I start, how many people in this room have a ChatGPT account? That's fantastic. How many of you have a paid ChatGPT account? Okay, the rest of you cheapskates, listen to me. That's the way this goes. Actually, GPT-4, based on 4.0 or 4 Omni is free, but it's kind of crippled. So if you really want to go deep, the GOAT right now is ChatGPT, the paid version. It's worth the 20 bucks or whatever they're charging. If you don't have the 20 bucks, Meta.ai is a pretty decent proxy for it. It's Llama 3, Meta's model, with a web interface on top of it. It does math pretty well. It does code pretty well. It's a really nice place for you to start if you don't want to pony up for the paid version of ChatGPT, which I heartily recommend. There is a cliche that you're going to hear versions of all day long. It's cliche because it's absolutely real. No one in this room, and I promise you this is true, not one person in this room is going to lose their job to AI. This is the cliche. Any one of you could lose your job to somebody who uses AI better than you do. It's a cliche because it's absolute. And you're going to hear it over and over again. You'll hear variations of it over and over again. And you're going to hear it so often, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. Don't let it. You have the power personally. The fact that you're in this room today, you have the power to be amazingly good at this. There's no secret knowledge. There's absolutely no secret knowledge. Every single thing you want to learn today can be learned for free. And all you have to do is put the time in. You just have to put the time in. So it's not like you have to go to school or you have to do something weird. You just have to do it. If you don't, that's on you. My talk today is called The Last Transformation, AI's transition from curation to generation. And this is a bold claim. I know a lot of you in this room have seen this presentation, but it's ever so slightly changed every morning. I'm going to take you through what I believe is the most profound change, literally the most profound change in the history of human communication. Anything I don't get to today or you want more of, you can go to shellypalmer.com/AI. There's a course there called AI for Brand Marketers. It's a free course. It'll take you through the basics of AI and prompt crafting or prompt engineering, which I will not cover today, but it's good stuff. And there's lots of case studies and plenty of resources there. They're all free, so please help yourself. Let's see if we can get some audio. Well, I can't get any audio. I wish this had audio. Anybody? Friends back there in audio land? Let's see if we can make this actually play. I'm so sad. Anybody? That's really sad. This was posted to Twitter, as you can see, or X, X formerly known as Twitter. And the other day by my friend Terry Kawaja. Terry, are you here? It would be my first time to see him if he was, since he posted this. It actually is an audio clone of my voice, and I'm sorry you can't hear it. It's pretty good. And I liked it. And I wasn't sad about it. When it happened, I was like, okay. Terry does a lot of parodies. He's a stand-up comedian and mergers and acquisitions guy. Luma Partners, if you've seen Lumascapes, that's the guy from Lumascapes. He makes them, and he makes these parodies. But what if I didn't like it? What if it pissed me off? What if it actually wasn't on brand? What if I didn't think it was funny? Who would I go see? This just happened to work out for Terry and for me, and it's not that good. The clone is good. What he put in the words in my mouth, didn't help me in any way. This is what ScarJo is suing OpenAI about. Name, image, and likeness, that's all understood state by state level. Each state has their own name, image, and likeness laws, NIL laws. That's been made famous by the NCAA and some of the college deals that had to be made for name, image, and likeness with video games and what have you. But in this case, what's my recourse? Is my voice copyrightable? We don't know. Is it protectable in any way? It's not me. What if it was just a voice that sounded like me? This has my picture, so clearly it is me, or it's supposed to be. We have to deal with this, and there's no way to deal with it. The laws don't cover it. There's a new law called the No Fakes Law. Anybody heard of that? No fakes? So our Congress is hard at work. It's the first bipartisan bill that we've seen, and it's in direct response to ScarJo's potential lawsuit against OpenAI. And the goal here is to figure out, who are you and what do you own? What do you actually own about yourself now in this world? A few weeks ago, I was at a dinner, and I learned something that completely changed the way I think about AI. I was with a bunch of nerdy engineers, a lot of them, and we spent all night talking about AI. And it became very clear to me that big tech, Google, Amazon, OpenAI, Microsoft, Meta, every one of the big guys who are doing the big stuff don't care about anything we're going to talk about today at all. They have one goal, AGI, or the super goal, ASI. AGI is artificial general intelligence. ASI is artificial superintelligence. Neither is well defined, but you can use a loose definition that is not generally accepted, but kind of in the ether now. AI that can do what humans can do would be artificial general intelligence. Learn how you can learn, do things you can do. And ASI would be a superintelligence, so much smarter than us that we wouldn't even understand what it was. The goal, stated goal by Sam Altman, is that they are trying to do AGI. They want the tools to reason, and once the tools can reason, we're in a new place. So we're trying to make super automation, and I want to be very clear about the state of the art today. Forget all the tech jargon you're going to hear all day long, because it doesn't mean anything. You want to learn the jargon, good. You don't want to learn the jargon, it's all right. Think about it as one word, super automation. Cognitive, non-repetitive work, white-collar work, the work that only humans are supposed to be able to do, can be super automated wherever there's a process. So if you can teach somebody, first you do this, then you do that, then you come to a decision. If it's this, do this. If it's that, do that. If you can teach somebody a method, the way you would literally teach them to do a piece of artwork, the way you would teach them to prepare a page to be watercolored on, the prep part, the executional part, if you can teach someone the method to execute, it can be super automated. End of story. So today, that's what AI is, and that's what AI could become for us. Super automation. That's not AGI. That's not ASI. Those are different mythological things that could happen in 10 minutes from now, 10 days from now, 10 months from now, 10 years from now, or never. We don't know. Everyone thinks it's coming. That's the goal. If you listen to the big AI manufacturers, that's the goal. It's not our goal today. Our goal today is to be as efficient in business as we can possibly be, to use these tools to the best of our ability to get what we need out of them, and to create a culture of continuous adaptability so that as new tech comes at the pace at which it is coming now, we get an opportunity to profit from it. We can actually create value. In the marketing organization specifically today, we're going to concentrate on creating value in the marketing organization. Everyone thinks that AI was invented on November 30th, 2022. It was not. That's the day that ChatGPT became a public product. That's its launch. Everyone knows the little saying, wow, it was the fastest technology to 100 million users. Great. That's meaningless. Here's what's important. November 30th, 2022 is the CG boundary. Probably the most important day in human communications history. Because every day before November 30th, 2022, if you went online and you searched the public web, there was a 99.9% chance that whatever you found was created by a human being, or with the incredibly heavy hand of a human being. And while there were a few small things that had been created by computers and primitive AIs and primitive natural language understanding and processing tools, anything you found before November 30th, 2022 was created by people. Post November 30th, 2022, we are in the what I'm going to call the I guess the generative era, the GE. Now, what does this mean? It means that every single day since November 30th, 2022, you are less and less and less likely to find content that is solely created by a human being. We are no longer the writers of human history. One more time, human beings are no longer the sole creators and sole writers of our own history and never will be again. This is such a profound change in the way we communicate with one another that it probably is rivaled only by the first, by the immersion of, or I should say the debut of the printing press in the 1500s. Because all of a sudden, we're a function of autocomplete. Every one of you has used your iPhone where it says, I'm in a cab, damn you autocomplete. We've all done it. Now, when you start to type an email, it autocompletes. You start to type a Word document, it autocompletes. At a certain point, you're just going to let it do it. It's going to start writing for you. First our business documents, and then ultimately everything that we do from human correspondence is going to be co-created. Now there are real problems, and I mean they are gigantic problems with monoculturism, with the idea that we're going to feed synthetic data back on itself, and that we're no longer going to train on original human content, and ultimately we're going to find ourselves in generica, where I'm driving down Route 17 in Paramus and every single store looks the same, and every retail store I walk into is a shaker table with a four-folded sweaters on it, and every website looks like Amazon or Shopify templates. Yeah, that's a world we could end up in, and we have to be really careful about it. But that's not the subject of today's meeting or summit. It's just the truth about the future. We've got to, as humans, guard against monoculturalism, because you want to be able to go down to West Broadway and go from one little shop to the other and see the display of clothing or a display of artwork or a display of knickknacks or housewares that were lovingly curated by somebody who had a vision. And you want to feel their creativity and you want to get into that. That's never happening as we keep feeding in synthetic data into synthetic data into synthetic data. We have a lot of examples of how this has happened in the past, and it will happen again. And if you want to see a good example of it, any website, file, edit, view. I mean, you know the nav bar. Contact us, like about. You get every single website. We have norms for it. And when something doesn't comply with that norm of what a website looks like or what a program, a piece of software is supposed to look like, you immediately know it's not real because we have conventions. What will the conventions of human communication be turned into? Big deal, very big deal. This is the Great Theater in Ephesus. How many people know where the lost city of Ephesus is? Wow, it must really be lost. There's only 2 people. I found it. It's right here. This is the lost city of Ephesus. It's right outside of Kuşadası, Turkey. This is the Great Theater. Every single day, every night, every person in the town of Kuşadası was, actually of Ephesus, was entitled to a seat in this room. Not really a room, theater. There were 4 theaters here, an 7,000, 14,000, 21,000, and 28,000 seat theater. The seats had numbers, like regular theaters, like they had numbers. There was indoor plumbing there. There were concession stands. If you went into this theater, you would recognize it right now as a theater that you would go to, like any theater, anywhere. Every night, everyone in town was entitled to go see an oration, a political debate, a concert, a tragedy, a comedy. Every night. And every one of those words, every single word, every piece of music, everything that everyone experienced was curated for one and only one metric: engagement. Right person, right place, right time, right message, engagement. That was the metric. Fast forward 3,500 years, we do the same thing. Best example, TikTok feed. How many people do you have a TikTok account? The rest of you, don't do it. 5 minutes a day, 5 days, you'll be addicted. You'll be doom scrolling for the rest of your life. Those of you who raised your hand, you can see me after class. I can tell you that there are encounter groups for you and there's medication you can take. We can solve your TikTok problem. It's that addictive. It's that level of addictive. It's the finest curation ever done with content. It knows more about you than you do. Facebook feed. Same. Amazon recommendation engine, Google, all of the Netflix recommendation engine. We know how to curate. We're great at it. What goes into curating? Well, first you have to create something, and that comes at a cost. Creating takes time and money. And then the next thing you need to do is you need to label it and store it. So what is this? First of all, metadata. That is data that describes other data. Most important thing about any data set is the metadata. Why? I have 1,000 songs on my iPhone. Okay, that's the data. Useless to me without the title and the artist. That's the metadata, the data that describes it. So how would I describe this picture? Well, I'd say it's a motorcycle, or it's a gas station, or it's a Western USA, or it's a motorbike, or a hog, or a chopper. That might be a Harley to some people. Maybe, except if I get that wrong, I've stored it. As it turns out, this is really an image about custom saddlebags and fringed motorcycle seats. Completely missed it. Would never be surfaceable. Could never get the right message in front of the right person, right place, right time if I left out the two most important pieces of metadata. And it would be obvious to do that, because you might not recognize that as a saddlebag. And so we find ourselves in a new place. This is theater to opera spatial. I'm sure you all know this image. This image is super famous. It was submitted to the Colorado State Arts Fair Digital Arts Competition in September of 2022. In September of 2023, the Copyright Office said that it couldn't be copyrighted. It won the competition. This is the winning entry in the photo manipulation category of the Digital Arts Fair in Colorado in 2022. There was only one problem. The artist who created it didn't actually create it. It was created by Midjourney, which at the time was free, so that's low or no cost. And it took, they said, 654 iterations, but each one of them was in near or at real time. So however many times that this Jason Allen guy prompted it, it was prompted and it showed up. The other artists in the competition lost their minds. This is not art. Well, the Copyright Office agrees, it's not copyrightable. It could infringe on someone's copyright, but it's not copyrightable. What I mean by infringe is you can lose a copyright case by intent. So I want to mash up John Mayer and Taylor Swift at Willie Nelson's house. They're going to get sued by all three songwriters because you've demonstrated your intent to trade off their IP. That's, by the way, how everybody commissions a song, but they shouldn't commit it to writing. Like, I've been in the music business for 50 plus years, and I can promise you, everyone asks you, hey, okay, do that John Williams Star Wars thing, just don't get us sued. But they don't write it down. If you write it down, you're gonna lose the court case. This is critically important. We've gone from the entire process of creation, curation, storage, description, to in near or at real time, for no or at low cost, being able to generate. It's never happened before. Today we're going to talk very quickly about three big buckets, in no particular order: productivity, talking to data, and new products. And when I think about word calculators, I think it's important for us to just quickly think through what a large language model is today. It's different than it was 6 weeks ago. In fact, it's different than it was 3 weeks ago. Sam Altman has stood on stage and said out loud, TK at Google has stood on stage and said out loud that they are getting these models to reason. GPT-4o reasons, according to Sam Altman. GPT 3.5 did not. It showed an emergent quality of reason. It was able to reason through a specific kind of problem. But they are now stating out loud that their goal is to get the word calculators to reason. Do not for 1 second confuse what these are at the moment. Simply, without any tech jargon, it is probabilistically choosing the next best token. It's a small piece of a word, maybe a whole word if it's a 3 or 4 character word, and it's trying to figure out which comes next. It's just calculating the next best token. That's all it does. When it gets it right, it looks like English, and we're all happy. By the way, in a multimodal model where you've got audio, it's a little piece of audio, not a single sample, but a little piece of audio. In an image, it's a little chunk of an image, not a single pixel, just a little chunk of an image. And when it's words, it's 3 or 4 characters of a word, not a whole word. So there's no invariant model in a database, in a large language model of your work. If you put a Word file, a Word document in your computer, and you store your Word document, that's invariant. When you call it back, you're going to get exactly your Word document back. When you store a JPEG on your hard drive and you call it back, you're going to see the image. When you put that same JPEG up into a large language model, when you take that Word document and you put it up in a large language model and you ask for it back, you get an approximation. It's not stored. It's broken up into a million tiny pieces. They're stored in vectors, which you don't care about, but it is. And then they compute what the probable next token is, and then a little piece of it comes back. And they assemble the pieces for you. When they get it right, you're very happy. When you get it wrong, they say it's hallucinating. Now, it's not lying, it's not giving you misinformation, it's no more aware of its context, literally, than your toaster oven is as to whether it burnt your toast, than your calculator, your handheld calculator is right or wrong. It doesn't know. You think it thinks. It does not think the way we do. It's calculating the next best token. Never lose sight of that. There's a test called the Turing test, and we'll go back to this in a minute. There's a test called the Turing test, and the Turing test, I'll go just put that up. The Turing test is, can a human fool a computer, or can a computer fool a human into thinking that the computer's human? That's the way it's called the imitation game. It's written by, in a paper by Alan Turing years ago, decades ago, father of computer science. And the goal is you have a person, and there's two people behind a curtain. One is a computer, one's a person, and it's all done in text. And the goal is to fool the person who's asking the questions, whether they're talking to a computer or a person. This is not a test for computers to pass. This is a test for humans to fail, and you will fail it because these tools are programmed to have you fail the Turing test. It is set up to be a large language model. It's a conversational or chatbot. So you're going to be tricked into thinking you're dealing with an entity. You're not. You're dealing with a calculator. Keep that in your head. This is a tool in your tool belt. It is not a person you're talking to, although it will exhibit a lot of attributes of intelligence. You will see a lot of attributes of intelligence that are displayed. Yes, it can hold a complex idea in its head. Of course it can. It doesn't have a head, though. Can it think abstractly? It'll make you believe that it can. What it's really doing is looking at all the patterns it's ever seen, all the context it's ever seen, and it's surfacing what it believes is in that vector, that particular vector. Okay, I want to have the marketing vector. I want to have the attribution vector. I want to have the media mix modeling vector. I've seen all of the LSAT tests and the practice tests. I've seen all of the bar exams. And so now it can get a 178 on the LSATs and pass the bar exam. But it can't pass preschool. So what do you make of a system that could pass the bar exam and not pass preschool? If you gave it a complex problem like a 5-year-old could solve, here's a cup, here's a straw, here's a bucket, here's another cup with water in it. Get the water from the cup into the bucket and then the bucket into the other cup. It's never seen that pattern. It's going to get it wrong 90% of the time. But if you ask it, literally ask it, what, some crazy bar exam question, for some CPLR reference, it's going to have it. It's definitely going to have it. It's seen the patterns. This is the most massive pattern matching tool ever, ever, ever. I want to move on real quick. Multimodal is the word of the day. I'm just going to show you a couple quick demos. I should go back to this. Everybody is multimodal now. Multimodal means everything you think it means. It means anything in, anything out. GPT-4o will take anything. If I was actually streaming into GPT-4o right now, or Gemini 1.5, and I said, how many people in this room have blue shirts on, it would actually count it up. It can take video in, streaming video in, audio in, anything in. GPT-4o does not output motion video yet. That product is called Sora. It's supposed to be out by the end of the year. Gemini 1.5, Google's product, has VO. Their video output is not yet ready for prime time, but it's coming. We will be in a world where you can describe something in text, then get usable video out the other side. We're not far off. Music tools, text in, music out, music in, music out. All these multimodal tools are in various stages of being good. Some of them suck, but they're not going to suck for long. So be prepared. It's coming. All right. Everybody gets this with the program. Everybody's getting Copilot. Everybody's getting Google Gemini for Workspace. Look, there's no point whatsoever in just slapping productivity onto existing workflow and process. It makes no sense. You must innovate workflow and process. You must. What makes productivity tools magical are you people here in this room. You personally make these tools magic. What I mean by that is, this is not a skills democratizer. This is a skills amplifier. Yes, it can democratize minimalistic skills. You want to make a picture and you're not an artist, hey, make me a picture of a King Kong on the top of the Empire State Building. You're going to get a reasonable approximation, but so will everybody else in the world. So if that's your level of democratization, if bad images created by anybody that can type is what you're thinking is democratization, you're right. But skills amplifying is different. Skills amplifying is really different. You know what the output is, and you're letting it do tasks that you would have to do, or you would assign someone to do, and it does the work. And then you authenticate that work because you know what you're looking for. And then someone runs the number. So you throw a spreadsheet into GPT-4o and say, what can I learn from this spreadsheet? And it tells you all the things. And you say, okay, good. Then calculate all that stuff for me. And it does. You would not present that to a client as output. You'd hand it to an associate and have them run the numbers. If you did it by hand, why would you not do that when the computer does? And the answer is you will. So, but you've changed up the workflow and process. So your subject matter expertise is the key differentiator, which is why I told you at the very beginning of this speech, no one in this room is losing their job to AI. Nobody. You're losing your job to people who use AI better than you do. Workflow and process needs to be updated. So we all know what this is. This is a Gantt chart from a performance marketing project. And this could take, if you have an ad agency, a whole year. But if you don't have an ad agency, maybe this is 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 13 weeks, maybe it's 1 week. You're going to write a brand brief. Then that brand brief is going to be reduced to practice in some way. You'll have some copywriters write. You'll iterate. People will approve it for tone of voice. This goes on and on and on and on. It never stops. We've all done this for the last 40 years. Now, you're going to take your brand brief and you're going to reduce it basically to variables. These are variables that would go in a pre-prompt. You take the product and service and the advantages and the ideal persona for the customer, and you turn them into variables. And then you're going to choose a framework, one of a, 100 different marketing frameworks. And if you don't know your framework, you're going to put your best 5 marketing emails into the large language model and ask it, hey, is this in a framework? And if so, what framework is it? So it'll tell you what it is you want. And then you're going to create a prompt. This prompt looks like a merge document, but it's not a merge document. This is an actual prompt that says, use the features, advantages, benefits, and write me an email marketing campaign that's going to do what I need it to do. And what's going to be great about this is that for no or low cost in near or at real time, it's going to start generating marketing copy. So here we're inputting in just good old-fashioned ChatGPT, and you wouldn't do it in ChatGPT. You'd do this via API directly into OpenAI's tool set. But you're going to put in your features, advantages, benefits, and then the next thing you're going to do is tell it the framework. And then it's going to start writing emails at no or low cost in near or in real time. And if it doesn't get it right, if it doesn't work, it's going to rewrite it using a different framework, and then another, and then another. And you're going to say, well, only humans can do this kind of rewriting. And I'm going to tell you that is total nonsense. The pre-prompt constrains the language so that only the language you've given it is the language it's going to use. It's using the large language model specifically and only, literally only, to speak English. And what's amazing about this is that instead of A/B testing, we're going to start alpha omega testing. This becomes a relentless pursuit engine. This is no longer in any way anything other than a tool that will just keep writing until it accomplishes its conversion goals. So now you're going to set a metric, you're going to set a KPI, you're going to set an OKR, and you're going to let this thing go. Completely different workflow, completely different process, completely different approach to creating a performance marketing campaign, one that is relentless and 100% successful 100% of the time. So, next thing I want to talk to you about very quickly is talking to data. This is a tool that you're going to see later. The NHL, Dave Lahansky and I will have be up on stage a little later this morning. This tool is amazing. It's a 6-year-old tool that uses natural language processing. It's not all AI. This is a natural language to SQL query builder. So the NHL has 100 years of hockey data stored in a big SQL database. And what this tool does is it writes English language to SQL queries. So you don't need to be a SQL engineer to write this query, which is spectacular. It can pre-do a show in about 5 minutes, take basically a day's worth of work for an intern, and in about 5 minutes, just bang out. You could ask it any question that begins with what or how. What's the last time someone did blank on the ice when something happened? You're going to get it. This tool has been updated in a really nice way. It now has a large language model in the output, so you can say you're acting as a play-by-play or a color commentator or a trainer or a coach, and you can use the same database and get different personas coming out of it. It's used for lower third. It's used for social media. It can be used for anything. Here's doing game prep Talking to data is a big deal. If you've ever had someone make you a report or someone build you a dashboard, now you can just use natural language. And if you can ask a question that begins with what or how, you can have the executives with subject matter expertise talk directly to the database, cutting out an awful lot of time and energy and getting reports and dashboards updated. This is a thing we wrote a couple of years ago now. This is called StoryScript. It's a really interesting tool. You choose your canon, and in this case, it's going to choose Star Wars. And then you choose the age of your child. So this is constrained by canonically by what it is. The story arcs are pre-built into the pre-prompts now. Beginning, middle, and ending, rising action, climax, falling action. Here are 3 completely original, I think those are Star Wars stories. And if I read, the vast interior of the Imperial Star Destroyer resounded with the rhythmic hum of machinery as Darth Vader stalked through its shadowy corridors. This is not the way that ChatGPT would write a story. This is significantly better. It's better because it's prompted to be better. The prompt crafting here, all done in a massive pre-prompt, changes the game. Before we had long context windows, before we were able to do long context, what we were able to do was stack AI models to accomplish the same thing, but the technology has changed over the last 12 months. We no longer need to build a stack of AI tools. You can do this with one single prompt. Also does images, also does voice cloning, so James Earl Jones could redo this. Most importantly, this is a story engine. So I could teach you the Bible in the canon of Lord of the Rings, or I could teach you calculus in the canon of the NBA or the NHL. Soon this will be video. You'll be just describing what you want as an output. Right person, right place, right time, right place, right message. No or low cost, in or near real time. Keep that in your mind, because that's what today is about. We're going to build every kind of data-driven experience in the world. We're going to build every kind of data-driven content. I'm going to take a little extra second here, and this will be on me. We're going to go 5 minutes over. I'll just let everybody know right now. Will AI kill web traffic? Yes. It's not going to kill web traffic as we understand it. It's going to kill link-based SEO, and it's going to kill it dead. And Google announced it from the stage. If you've used AI overviews, which at the moment are having some issues, which they will hopefully solve, Google will get out of its own way at a certain point, and they will get it right. It's going to a website. You know what it's not doing? Clicking on ads. So Google's going to put an ad in front of you, but it isn't going to be an ad that I got paid for as a owner of a website. It's going to be an ad that Google gets paid for as the owner of the search engine. The entirety of our publishing business is upside down now. Thank you, all of our friends at Google. Perplexity is kind of like that too. At least they give you some websites to click on. This has really turned out to be, it was my favorite tool. Now it has like become not a favorite anymore. They've really not kept Perplexity up. You should try it, but I don't trust anything that comes out of Perplexity, ever. Everything needs to be like triple checked, because there's a thing now, I don't know if you've heard this term, slop, raise your hand, slop. Spam you've heard, right? Everyone in the room knows what spam is. Slop is the website equivalent. These are generated by AI, top to bottom. In the industry, we started to call them slop. And what they are is completely AI generated websites, which have garbage information that SEOs perfectly, literally perfectly, because it's built by AI to SEO perfectly, but the information is garbage. And you're going to start, if you haven't noticed it yet, you will certainly start noticing it. It's actually showing up in Google News. Like if you're on your mobile device and you click Google, you know how like it shows a bunch of news stories underneath it? Or Chrome does the same thing. These stories are prevalent there. Google is having a hell of a time making them go away. Is big tech the future of AI? We're going to talk a lot about this today. Yes and no. Absolutely, big tech is required to do the foundational models. Ladies and gentlemen, everything we're talking about today is going to change in exactly 2 weeks, because when WWDC happens, they're going to introduce iOS 18, and then we are going to learn what happens to large language models that run locally in your iPhone, where all of your PHI and PII lives. And until we know what Tim Cook has decided to do with iOS 18, and they can slow play this as long as they want to slow play it, because they're in no hurry to get this right. They're not going to do what Google did. They're not going to stumble out of the gate. Siri cannot suck forever. They're going to try to fix Siri. They've got a long road to hoe. Siri sucks, and everyone knows it. All they need to do is get this much better. But once we trust Tim Cook with our PII and our PHI, Then agentic tools, these tools that will do our bidding for us. It knows from what I've done how I like to set up my meetings. And so when I talk to someone, it's going to know that I mean I want to set up a meeting. And it's going to start doing these things for us in an agentic way. It's going to have agency, and that's going to be a different world. And we're not going to know a thing about it until WWDC. So everything we're talking about today is likely to change 14 days from now. We will talk about copyright and IP a lot today. If we don't, you want to get involved in this. None of us can change this. This is going to be adjudicated in the courts, but we're going to do the very best we can, to figure this out. AI bias is real. This is one of the most biased images I have ever seen, ever, because this is how it was created. A fan with smartphone watching football. First of all, every one of these guys is European, close-cropped hair, bomber jacket, white. And by the way, they're watching soccer, not football. Just saying. So this is the bias in the model. I could have made it do anything, but you wouldn't have known this image was highly biased. Now multiply this by every image and every piece of text you're ever going to see ever coming out of a large language model, and then tell me bias isn't an issue. I want to leave you with this. This is a quote. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my dishes and laundry. This blew up. The young lady who wrote this, it was sent to me by the most non-technical person I know, and I just loved it, and I found this article. This isn't going to happen until Jensen Huang and all the others get us humanoid robots with full agency, which is a goal of everybody on the West Coast. If you haven't seen the movie I, Robot, the worst movie that I love the most ever made, I love this movie with Will Smith. All these robots are walking around behind the people, like walking their dogs and carrying their bags. That's like the most prescient thing I've ever seen in a movie theater, ever. And it's worth a rewatch. Look, today is an important day. We're right in this really interesting industry that is going to change everything we know how to do. And then the things we know how to do couldn't be more important today, no matter how hard we tried, because every piece of experience you ever learned, when you apply it to this tool set, makes you that much more powerful, that much more amplified. So what we're going to try and go through today as a group is, what do we know? What do we really believe? If you believe 100% of what you hear today, please don't. What I want you to do is take this all in and go, yep, I get it. Lots of stuff is changing. There's a lot of powerful tools out there. I want to use these tools to drive growth, to drive productivity, which is the key to economic success. I want to use these tools as best I can. Don't think that we have the answers. We, like all of you, are searching, desperately searching for the answers. So I appreciate every one of you being here today, and I'd like to bring up our very first guest. Amal, come on up on the stage.